And now, an 8th special presentation.
In this edition of Artbeat Nation, train travel enriched by some unique pieces of art.
Everyone can come here and bring their families here for decades to come and be part of this airport.
The evolution of the guitar gives us insight into the American music of the West.
Technology helps us to bring the guitars alive.
See where the eye meets art.
Well, maybe just the Impressionists were just a bunch of people with nearsightedness.
And visit Phoenix Sky Harbor's SkyTrain art installations.
In this case, he wanted to scatter the floor with a path that led you from one part of the train, the exit to the train, right over to the elevators and escalators.
It's all ahead on this edition of Artbeat Nation. Funding for Artbeat Nation is made possible by contributions to 8 from viewers like you. Thank you. Through his photography, Robert Silvers links art and science. He is the creator of the photo mosaic, the pointillism of today. Silvers takes individual pieces of art and puts them together to create one image. For this project, he partnered with the McCarran Airport in Las Vegas, Nevada, and the local school system to create 10 unique mosaics for travelers.
We're in the train station at the D gates for the Terminal 3 train. And what we're doing is we're celebrating children's art, part of our public art that is in this train station.
8 of the kids are here tonight, and we don't want anybody to go home empty-handed. And we'll start with Josie Adams.
It's a project we did with the school district. We started 5 years ago, and it's a photo mosaic of 10 pictures that were selected from the 37,000 students who participated.
Seeing my artwork over there, wall size, it's made me very proud.
All the 37,000 students' pictures are tiny pieces of these larger 10 pieces, so it's kind of cool that we can get that many school children involved in one of our art projects.
I was really shocked that I won at all. It feels great, it really does.
5 years ago, 37,000 school kids submitted watercolor paintings, and I arranged them into 10 photo mosaics. Hi, thank you for coming. I'm going to give you a little bit of history. These are what I call photo mosaics. The photo mosaic process is something that I invented while a student at the MIT Media Lab. I've been a photographer and a computer programmer, so I found a way to combine my interests.
What I'm thinking right now is, oh my gosh, people from all over the world is going to see this.
Right now, through this train station, we have probably about 7% of our total traffic, so that's 1.5 million people roughly come through this terminal. But over the years, that will continue to grow. It'll be millions of people every year that is going to be exposed to this public art of our school children.
I've done the cover of Life magazine, the cover of Newsweek with Princess Diana, the Truman Show movie poster, and many others. But what's special about this is the number of people involved, 37,000 school kids. So each of them is a part of this. They can come here with their families to the airport, and they can show people, and they can feel proud to be a part of it.
The coordination of 37,000 students submitting a piece of art was a huge challenge. But thank you very much to the school district for taking the lion's share of that work.
There's 37,000 students participated in this. So that's not only special to each of them, it's actually meaningful to me because I like working with large photo collections. I like working with images that are colorful and images that are all different and unique. So what I did to make it was I took each image and compared every image to every possible location, each little tile location in each of these 10 master images. And I would pick the watercolor painting that looked most like that area, so that when you step back, you see the overall image. It's partially an automated process because I couldn't possibly go through this many images completely by hand, but what I did was design the process to think and see the way that I would, and then it narrows it down for me, and I can pick the final choice for each area.
So we really wanted to make it easy for the students, for the parents, for relatives, for others to be able to easily locate their artwork.
You can go online at mccarran.com, and if your child participated in this, you can locate the image and see them in this artwork.
We'll go to McCarran's website, www.mccarran.com. There's a link to the children's mosaic art, and then there's a few pieces of information they fill in, and then what happens is the photo mosaic picture comes up, and then the star, it shows you where your particular picture is in relationship to the whole photo mosaic.
So then when you click on the star, it zooms into the picture itself, highlights that, and then when you click on the picture, it actually gives the information related to the artist.
Over time, I think that word's going to get out to all the other students that they can go find their actual piece of art. And I think that students are going to think that's really cool, and I think that will get them more excited about art.
Everyone can come here and bring their families here for decades to come and be part of this airport. So it was fun for me, I'm sure it was fun for all the students, and I just wanted to thank everyone involved.
Not only do we get to showcase the art to 88% of our customers who don't live here, who can come through and see that we have children who do the same things in school that children in their community do in school. But we also think it's cool that the kids can come back and show off their art pieces to their friends and relatives and maybe their kids and grandkids down the road. We like public art. We particularly like children's public art. And we're just like any other community that do the same things they do in other communities. It's not just about getting people in and out, which is important, and that's what we're all about, but it's also to show people that, you know, we're more than just we're more than just the strip and casinos and slot machines and dining and entertainment, all those fun things that they come to do.
I feel great to see it because it's a physical installation, it's not temporary, it's backlit transparencies, it's very well illuminated, it looks beautiful, and so many people are going to see it because it's right at the tram station at Terminal D.
I think it's wonderful. This is such a fun project for us to be involved in, and anytime we can be involved with children and get them to be encouraged to do better and to do things that they can be proud of, I'm glad to be part of that.
To learn more, visit mccarran.com. Guitars, Roundups to Rockers is an exhibit at the Eiteljorg Museum in Indianapolis, Indiana. The show features over 100 guitars that span from 1793 to the present. This will be the first time guitars from such diverse artists from Billie Holiday to Keith Richards are displayed together. The exhibit also gives us an in-depth history of music in the American West. Here's a tour.
We're here at the Eiteljorg Museum of American Indians and Western Art to help your viewers get a view of the Guitars, Roundups to Rockers exhibition. It's an exciting show, and we want people to come. You can see great guitars at other museums and in private hands if you have access. We've had wonderful feedback on the exhibit from the major collectors and the museums that have loaned, and they're telling us they think it's one of the best guitar shows they've ever seen. It's not an opportunity that you want to miss. Guitars, Roundups to Rockers is over 100 instruments covering the time span from 1793 to the present. You get a wonderful dose of the history of major brands such as Martin, Fender, Rickenbacker, Gibson, and others. You see prototypes and experimental guitars that are essential to the history of electrifying the instrument. These are pretty telling instruments. As we were planning the exhibit, we really began looking at what the story was about guitars and the American West. That's what our mission is. But we also wanted to look at what was unique about instruments and music in the West. Not only what was brought to the West, but what was created in the West that influenced the rest of the world. And a big part of that is the history of how people developed new instruments that were louder, basically. And that story of amplifying the guitar almost entirely is to the credit of people in the American West. Musical forms that originated in Seattle or on the beaches of California or in the studios of Los Angeles, or popular forms of music, blues in Texas, for example. Those are all musical forms that are known to the rest of the world. Technology helps us to bring the guitars alive. We can have pretty guitars in a case that are completely silent, and it can be a good experience, but using technology we can bring those museum objects, the guitars, into a different level. So our staff produced a variety of experiences. You can pick up a guitar and play it, but you can also go to iPads and learn about different types and styles of guitar playing, the different roles that guitars play in a band. You can check out for free an iPod, and at almost 70 different locations in the exhibit, you can either hear the precise instrument in front of you being played by a famous player, or you can hear the kind of music played on, say, a very early instrument. So it helps to give a greater dimension and richness and to present the real art that came from the instrument. It's an adventure trying to get them. And we've had a wonderful time working with colleagues at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Experience Music Project in Seattle, the Autry National Center in Los Angeles, the National Music Museum in South Dakota. We normally work with colleagues studying things they have and arranging to make loans. Being able to contact collectors and players is not always easy. In some cases, we have connections with people like Vince Gill, who are collectors and players, and they're very open to sharing their instruments with the public. In other cases, you can't get a hold of people. The Doug Irwin guitar made for Jerry Garcia, it's the guitar named Tiger. As people in Indianapolis know, one of the great collectors here is Jim Irsay, owner of the Colts. He's passionate about music and guitars. Jerry Garcia's Tiger is one of his collection. The sound clip that you hear with that guitar is the famous Grateful Dead song, Truckin'. And we picked a version of that we knew was recorded at the time he was playing that guitar. And by coincidence, it's one that was recorded in Noblesville at Deer Creek. So there's a real piece of Indiana there. The case we have on Hendrix is one that we found most satisfying to do. Experience Music Project loaned us his early Les Paul electric guitar. It's not the guitar he's best known for. It's usually a Fender Stratocaster, but the fragment we have is a fragment of a Stratocaster that he broke on stage in London in 1969. These are really special things, and there's a magic about them. These are real things. These aren't souvenir guitars that have someone's signature on them. This is the real deal, and that's what you don't normally get to see.
To learn more, visit idlejorg.org. The Impressionists' blurred brushstrokes shocked the art world in the late 1800s. In this next story, you'll be surprised to find out what some experts now believe was the reason for this style of art.
When you look at some of the works of the Impressionists, to the first observer, it just looks sort of blurry. Well, people who are nearsighted see the world without their glasses as sort of blurry. So somewhere along the line, some people thought that, well, maybe just the Impressionists were just a bunch of people with nearsightedness. When Paul Cézanne exhibited in the very first Impressionist show, there was an interesting quote from an art critic who was so shocked with the look of this that he said he must have a diseased retina. He's created this whole new form of art because his eyes must be so poor. Similarly, people look at the works of artists like El Greco and Giacometti and Modigliani, and all of those artists would paint or do sculptures in a very elongated, exaggerated sort of fashion. Again, someone wondered, well, gosh, I wonder if they have some sort of astigmatism. And astigmatism is a condition of the eye where the curvature of the eye is not perfectly spherical, and it causes blurring in one direction as opposed to another. And it turns out that Impressionism is way more than just an eye condition. I mean, it's a revolutionary movement in art in France in the late 1800s. And, you know, glasses were widely available then. There was not any such thing as somebody that went without glasses. Edgar Degas was really one of the founding fathers of French Impressionism. He suffered from a loss of vision in one eye in his early 30s, and he was basically legally blind in both eyes by about his mid-30s. He lost vision in the macula, the centermost part of the retina that's responsible for our fine detailed vision. And this shows up in his works where early he does these exquisite paintings of girls in the ballet school, for example. And he would paint that over and over and over again. But then there's some very late Degas pastels where he's painting the same theme, a ballet dancer. But you can tell that the contrast between his earlier style and the later style is just a lot more coarse. The details are kind of lost, and it's very evident when you compare those two works that he's lost vision. You ask someone about Impressionism, and everyone seems to gravitate towards Monet. Well, Monet ends up having cataracts late in his life, and these cataracts develop in roughly the 19-teens to 1920s, and cataract surgery was possible, but it was not nearly as sophisticated as it is now. He eventually, after seeing 6 ophthalmologists, ends up having cataract surgery, but up until that point, we can kind of see a gradual deterioration in his vision. A cataract will absorb blue, violets, and greens, and so it leaves the world sort of a muddy color. Monet, in fact, after his cataract surgery, complained bitterly. He talked about how the colors were exaggerated, and he couldn't quite get used to the fact that he was actually seeing real colors now, and he'd been so acclimated to seeing yellows and browns. Nothing probably illustrates this better than something that he would paint over and over, which is the little Japanese footbridge at Giverny. And there are early works of this from around 1900. He paints them. The water lilies are beautifully reflecting in the pond, and there's just really exquisite detail, and even his brush strokes there's different colors rendered just within a single brush stroke. And then we get to a much later work in about 1922. He paints that same Japanese footbridge, and now the colors are way off. They're yellows and browns and very muddy because of a very, very thick cataract. And he's looking through these cataracts and painting through this, and that work from 1922 really reflects his poor vision that he was struggling with at the time. He sort of finally ends up recovering in around 1925. He finished the water lilies, and he's sort of back to his old style that all of us have sort of come to love. The idea that Impressionism might have been born out of just a need for glasses is probably pretty inaccurate. These are sort of conscious artistic decisions and not an eye condition.
We often think of art being made by one person alone in a studio. However, the art filling the public spaces of the new Phoenix SkyTrain at Sky Harbor Airport is different. It was made by artists working in teams with hundreds of skilled thinkers, builders, and installers. Created to enhance the traveling experience for the train's expected millions of riders, the large-scale works include terrazzo floors at each station, glass murals, and a sculptural ceiling installation. Ed LeBeau, Public Arts Program Director for the City of Phoenix, discusses the art projects with Ted Simons.
Half a dozen art installations debuted with the airport's new SkyTrain. City of Phoenix Public Art Program Director Ed LeBeau is here to tell us about the installations. Good to have you here.
Delighted to be here.
What are we talking? We got 5 artists, 6 what is happening?
5 artists and artist teams and 6 installations at each of the new sites and stops along the SkyTrain.
And how long in development was this?
You know, Ann Coe, one of the artists, likes to say that her project manager was pregnant when they started, and now she has a 5-year-old. So it's since 2008.
And where exactly is this art displayed? Is it on the train, in the train, around the train?
It's the spaces leading up to the train. There are floors, huge terrazzo floors at the station platforms. If you get off on light rail to cross 44th Street, cross a bridge, that entire bridge is designed by an artist, working with a design team of architects and engineers and all the rest. East Economy Lot and then Terminal 4, you have 2 major projects there.
Well, let's take a look at some of these projects, and starting with this one with, is it Daniel Mayer?
Daniel Mayer.
Embedding letters on the floor. It's kind of like calligraphy here, huh?
It is. Well, Daniel Mayer is a bookmaker and a printmaker who teaches out at ASU, and so he uses a lot of fonts, as we like to call in the digital world. And in this case, he wanted to scatter the floor with a path that led you from one part of the train, the exit to the train, right over to the elevators and escalators. And the scroll that you have there is, you know, limitless is the open and timeless is the open, sort of to draw upon the book of travel.
Isn't that interesting? And Daniel Mayer also now did, I believe, a couple of glass murals as well. Where are these?
He sure did. When you come off of the SkyTrain platform at Terminal 4, you go down the escalators, and there are 2 bridges that connect the train station to the terminal. He did these remarkable murals that really began with prints of Arizona leaves on aluminum foil. And then he scaled these up and produced them in traditional stained glass technique for both of these bridges, and they're beautiful and large. And in fact, you can see these from the drop-off area down below at Terminal 4 on the south side.
It must be basically those are leaf prints, aren't they?
Those are leaf prints, and very traditional, but in a contemporary setting unlike any other.
And I would imagine the scope and size kind of takes your breath away a little bit when you first see them.
115 feet long by about 9 feet high, so you feel like you're a bug crawling on the leaf.
Daniel Martin Diaz actually did a floor at the pedestrian bridge. What was this one all about?
Daniel Martin Diaz did a remarkable floor at the pedestrian bridge from 44th Street station over to the 44th Street light rail stop. This is a remarkable project. It's almost 500 feet long, 40 feet wide, and you can see from some of these pictures the kind of hand craftsmanship that went into this. These were produced right here in Phoenix by Advanced Terrazzo and some of their skilled craftsmen. And each floor took about 25 workers. And this is an ancient technique. Terrazzo is something that dates back a couple thousand years. It began with bits of marble from construction and built into cement. Now we have modern materials that are really beautiful.
That's absolutely gorgeous, mandala-like up there. Fausto Fernandez and Ann Coe both, but let's start with Fausto Fernandez, well known in the Valley as an artist. You got him to contribute as well, huh?
We did. We had a competition to select these artists 5 years ago, and Fausto, Daniel Mayer, Daniel Martin Diaz, and Ann Coe became the artists to do the terrazzo projects. Fausto, because of his beautiful layering of paintings and his imagery, got this project, and he worked really beautifully with the design team to create a pattern that's based on tailplane wings.
Indeed, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Ann Coe, again, another very familiar artist to folks here in the Valley, and she did a floor as well?
She did a floor, and it captures all of the whimsy that everybody knows Ann has, and so it's essentially an aerial flyover of the Arizona landscape, which she loves. And so you have these wiggling lines of tree or canals and rivers and takes off the topographic map graphics that you often see.
A floor as landscape.
Floor is landscape, and the one thing I'd point out is that at the East Economy lot, this is an outdoor station. So Advance had to come up with an innovative new product to make it a durable product in the outdoors.
And there was an international team as well that did this. Now was this a ceiling of cloud, something along these lines?
Yep, at the 44th Street station on the ground floor, sort of the main entrance to the that site. You have the international team of Mario Marag, Michael Parakauhai, working with Paul Deeb. And they had done a good deal of reading about the ancient ocean that used to be here covering Arizona, and they also just were infatuated with the blueness of our sky and the landscape. So they combined those two things into this grid that has this rippling like water in the middle.
We don't have too much time left. These artists, how much control, how much say did they have over what they wanted to do? Very
significant. They began with drawings and then worked directly with the architectural team to tweak them and incorporate them right into the plans as the entire SkyTrain developed.
And the overall cost of all this?
About $5.6 million and change out of a $1.5 billion project.
And again, the money came from?
Percent for Art program. The city has a Percent for Art program, which means a penny out of every buck the city spends on building itself involves artists in coming up with these kinds of enhancements.
And real quickly, the response from the artists, they happy?
They are delighted, thrilled, and the response from the public has been, goodness gracious, this is wonderful, wonderful work.
Well, congratulations on a success there. Can't wait to get out there and take a look. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me on.
To learn more, visit skyharbor.com/museum. For more arts and culture, visit azpbs.org/artbeat, where you'll find feature videos and information on the Arizona arts scene. Funding for Art Beat Nation was made possible by contributions to 8 from viewers like you. Thank you.